Aretha,
Oh, yes, he wasn't on
Mr. Ken,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harvey,
Here.
Rusty, and myself. All right. Ken, can I ask you to say the invitation?
Well, absolutely. Bow your heads for a moment. Lord, Father, we invite you here this evening to provide wisdom, guidance, discernment, and direction as we have the great honor and privilege of shepherding over a lot of money for our county. I ask that you help us to do good with it, that you lead this meeting, that your presence is felt. Father, I just ask this in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you, Ken. We're moving into public comment. Do we have any public comment?
We do have public comment. We have Brian Creekbaum. So just make sure that
I'm good at time this time.
you got it. All right, I just want to make sure this is on for you. You've got 3 minutes for your, and once the 3-minute limit is reached, your comments will conclude and you will not be heard further. Time cannot be extended or transferred to another participant.
As long as, Brian Creekbaum is a citizen. Several months back, then trustee Dr. Basudovan asked why the board didn't just index its investments. I'm going to provide you comments related to that subject by a man named Richard Ennis, but first I want to tell you why you should listen to him. Richard Ennis in 1981 co-founded an institutional investment consulting firm named Ennis Knupp, organized as a true professional services firm with no conflicts of interest such as asset management or brokerage business. I met Richard in the early 1990s. I was an admirer of his firm and the man. In 2010, with clients with $2 trillion in assets, Ennis Knupp was sold to Hewitt, which merged into Aon, and Richard retired from Chicago to Sanibel Island on our Gulf Coast. In 2019, Richard, who is today well into his 80s, wrote a memoir. You have a handout with the title. I'll let you look at it for yourself. One of the endorsements of the book came from Ashbel Williams, then CEO of the Florida State Board of Administration, our state retirement system, and now vice chair of J.P. Morgan Asset Management. It says in part, quote, Richard Ennis led the evolution, arguably the invention, of institutional investment consulting as we know it. His intellectual depth is matched by his exceptional ethical and professional standards. A fiduciary is fiduciary, end quote. You also have a brief chapter describing what firm Richard would have formed next had he been a younger man and not retired in 2010. It's in his book, it's a brief chapter. He describes that firm, Occam Asset Management, as follows. He would have dispensed with active management altogether. The firm's marketing tagline would be, quote, you want active management, hedge funds, private equity, go someplace else, end quote. He would establish an asset allocation based on client circumstances and a handful of considerations to arrive at sound investment policy. Occam would be known as the firm where even the clients understand their investment policy. Occam would be known as the firm, there would be only 3 investments, a short-term passive government securities fund, a domestic bond index fund, and a passive global all-capitalization equity portfolio. Occam would subcontract asset management to low-cost providers with massive assets under management. Occam would charge only 5 to 10 basis points. Transaction costs would be next to zero. The all-in cost would be about 1/10 the cost commonly incurred by institutional investors. Clients would have no investment staff. Occam would review client circumstances and revisit asset allocation once a year. Boards would meet only once a year to review the program. Anyway, you said it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Basis for future
Do we
discussion.
have any other public comments?
Thank you, sir.
All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the previous minutes. I think everybody's had an opportunity to read them. We will need a motion to. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any questions on them? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Okay, for the CEO update, I just have a few things, and one that wasn't in the packet that just came out. So, first of all, just a reminder that we have our health pillar and budget workshop September 3rd from 3 to 5 p.m. And it'll pretty much be in 3 sections. The gentleman that assisted us originally identified the most serious health concerns for Marion County and helped us with identifying our 5 pillars. Jeff Feller, the CEO of Well Florida Council, he's going to assist us in the beginning of the meeting, review the community health needs assessment data, the current data on Marion County deaths and deaths rates by category, and then we will walk through and evaluate our existing programs, new programs to fill gaps in the community, and then we'll tie that up for a budget discussion. And we'll send out documentation prior to that meeting. The other update is I had a good discussion with SMA's CEO, Ivan Cassimi, and he said really good news for them and for us. Last meeting, we approved $18,000 for their graduate management program to assist with housing. And at the same time, he had an infusion of funding to increase the pay of the students to actually pay for the housing. So he said, thank you very much, but we found an alternative because they were writing for grants for multiple sources. So we have the $18,000 for use for another project. And he thanked us profusely for that. Also, last week there was the Fentanyl Awareness and Education Day proclamation at the Board of County Commissioners. And let me pull it up. Yeah. And we had a really good crowd there. And this is really a representation of some of the key partners that are involved in tackling the substance use disorder initiatives that we have. And we have from our first responders, Ocala Fire Rescue, Marion County Fire Rescue, OPD, diversion courts, and SMA Healthcare and their team. And so this was just a good representation to let everyone know that that it really does take a team. And this is just a small sampling of the partners that we routinely work with for our initiatives, particularly for substance use disorder. And then lastly, we just found out this morning that Community Home Project won an Ovations Award for August 2025 for its recognition of community impact. So that was a wonderful, wonderful news that we received this morning for the great work that Shayna and Dayana are doing at Community Home Project.
Yes.
And that's all right.
Okay, let's move into strategic initiatives.
Deborah's gonna, well, I'm gonna introduce first have Jessica.
Good evening. I am thrilled to be here this evening to present our annual wrap-up presentation for the FAMS Programming, Fitness and Nutrition in Schools for the 24-25 school year. You can go to the next slide.
She got real fancy with it this year.
So this just gives you a little bit of an idea of what we're going to discuss this evening. We're going to talk about the 3 core components of the FAMS program. After I introduce our staff, physical education, horticulture, and health education are the core components. We're also going to talk briefly about our private schools and our therapeutic gardens. And then I'm very appreciative of Dr. Danielle for being here this evening. She's now the interim superintendent. Previously in her role, Danielle provided oversight to our FAMS staff in the public school system. We also have Melissa Connor here this evening, and Melissa now took on that role and will be providing oversight to our FAMS staff. So on the Marion County Hospital District side, we have two individuals, myself and then Jesse Triggers. Jesse provides programming in our public school or our private schools and our therapeutic gardens, as well as working with several community gardens. We fund 4 positions in the Marion County Public School System, and those individuals are here this evening. We have Charity Corneliuson, and she is our physical education coordinator. We have Christy Dixon, and she's our Fans Health educator. She also provides Fans Club programming in public schools. We have Mr. Christopher Roy, he's our horticulturist, so he works with the elementary and the secondary schools for our horticulture component. And then we have Ms. Nicole Schaefer. She was unable to be here this evening, but she's the one who kind of holds everything together for the program. And then we put together this year something a little different for you. So we have a video representation of our highlights from this last fiscal year and outcomes.
The Fitness and Nutrition in Schools program provides a healthy roadmap designed to take on childhood obesity and diabetes. And it does that by targeting everyone in our school ecosystem, kids, parents, and staff. So how does it work? FAN starts with the basics, getting kids moving more and making healthy choices routine. At the elementary level, we boosted the quality of physical education by giving physical education teachers new resources. We also introduced active movement breaks in classrooms, so students don't just sit all day. We got our hands dirty with raised garden beds at elementary schools. Kids plant, tend, and taste their own vegetables, giving them real-world lessons in nutrition. When students move up to middle and high school, the program kicks it up a notch. We built state-of-the-art greenhouses and learning landscapes. Actual crops are now growing in our schools. Even better, those veggies get served right in the cafeteria. Health education got a major upgrade too. Our new curriculum tackles today's tough issues: vaping, tobacco, nutrition, and the importance of water and daily exercise. Plus, our fans clubs in every middle and high school make health cool and social, with taste tests, fun fitness challenges, and awareness campaigns. Now let's talk results. Every single performance measure for the 2024 to 25 school year, we exceeded them. Physical activity in both elementary and secondary classes shot up. The Mayor's Fitness Challenge brought over 27,000 students together to move more, and it was a hit. We piloted evidence-based health education in select 5th and 8th grade classes, targeting schools with more disciplinary infractions. And 176 students took part in our supportive enforcement program, keeping them in school and getting support after a first-time drug-related offense, instead of sending them away. On the horticulture side, every public elementary, 12 private schools, and 5 therapeutic sites dug in, planting gardens in both September and February. Studies show early exposure to veggies shapes lifelong habits, and we saw it firsthand. Middle and high schools, they harvested over 9,000 pounds of produce, with more than 4,000 pounds served in cafeterias. Simply put, FANS is growing a culture of wellness that lasts. The proof is in the numbers, and in every student who's now healthier, happier, and more connected to their own well-being. Thank you for supporting programs that truly change lives.
We thought it was important for you to see some pictures and video from this last fiscal year of all of the incredible impacts and certainly efforts of the staff. We are small but mighty. We are in 75 locations with 22 hydroponic systems throughout the county. So I also wanted to include the chart that Crystal put together for us. This is just another representation of the fact that every single performance measure was met. Actually, most of them were exceeded this last fiscal year, which is quite impressive. We increase our performance measures and our goals each year, and they're sometimes pretty lofty. So our staff did an incredible job over the course of the year. Looking ahead, I want to bring up a few things to look forward to for the upcoming fiscal year. So one of the things we're going to do with physical education is we're going to launch a parent survey to gain parental feedback. We want to hear how much parents are hearing about the FANS program. Our team really does a great job of attending a ton of different community events throughout the year representing FANS. We also have teachers that strategically host events at schools to represent FANS. But we want to hear, are youth coming home and talking about the program? Are they increasing physical activity? We have heard parents say, my kids are asking for greenhouses and raised beds for Christmas, which is great, but we want to kind of expand that and expand the reach. We also spoke to Mayor Marciano last week. He wants to do the Mayor's Fitness Challenge again. It really was a big hit. The coaches loved it, they implemented that in physical education, but also our fans clubs, that peer-driven aspect, they also implemented it with their activities that they're doing with students, and it really was a big hit this year. For health education, you heard us talk about our new program. It's a new evidence-based program. Last year we piloted it at a couple of schools. We're now implementing it much wider in elementary schools and 8th grade. We also have an amazing partnership with Food and Nutrition Services. You all have heard us in the past, if you've been to our meetings or for new board members, that something that we have talked about for years is a produce hub. We're modeling this after a program in Alachua County. And basically it's a one-stop where all of this produce that we're harvesting at these schools can then be transported back to a hub where it can be stored and centrally processed and sent back out. Because oftentimes what's happening is maybe a school cafeteria can't utilize everything because they're getting hundreds and sometimes thousands of pounds of produce. That is still at this point going back out to multiple elementary schools. This is just going to make that process easier, and Food Nutrition Services, they've already got board approval, we've got a contractor that's working on it, and that produce hub is going to be at Howard Academy, where we have community home projects. So we're looking forward to that this coming year. And we also have a really significant collaboration. Chris has done an amazing job working with the farm to school individual and collaborating with local farmers. We have a lot of local farmers that are coming in and doing taste tests with students. And I also would like to share we have 7 new locations that are coming on board next year. So multiple new public schools, the Boys and Girls Club in the Shores, Marion Charter School. We have actually 2 private schools that have reached out, and then Dignity House. Jesse just went and did a planting with them last week. So before I open it up to questions, I know, Deborah, did you want to go ahead and introduce and say a little something about Dr. Brewer?
Well, she's one of my favorite people. Dr. Brewer, several years ago, this program had a few hiccups that were going on regarding collection of data, things that were going on with it, and the board raised a lot of questions regarding the program. And one of the things that we didn't have was that local buy-in within the school system of somebody championing this program within the school system. I know several of the staff that were in it were kind of like behind the scenes doing what they do with not a lot of support within the school system. And it really wasn't until Dr. Brewer got involved in it, and we meet with Dr. Brewer on a quarterly basis. Now we have Melissa Connor that we're going to be meeting with as well, who's just as fantastic as Dr. Brewer. And so without her guidance and her leadership, and I know that the staff within the school system probably feel like they went from not really talking to anybody to having a lot of support, not only from the hospital district, but from the school side of it. And I believe with your leadership too, that you've also gotten a buy-in from the superintendent, the former superintendent, all of the principals across the school district, and can't thank you enough for carrying the torch and leading the way and helping us with our mission with this program.
Oh, thank you, Deb. Thank you. I want to say thank you to all of you board members. It's not just one project. Every single area that this amazing team works through has tremendous impact in our students. And if you would ever like to come to our schools, do a tour with us, we'll be happy to show you what it really means for some of these students to plant their own fruits and their vegetables, and it's inspiring. But also, I want to really highlight the health impact. A couple years ago, Deb Velez said to us, we need to do something more. We had all these students that were being alternatively placed, which means they were removed from their base school and sent to an alternative school for their first offense, some of their drug offenses, first offense. And she said, there's got to be a way that we can help support them through this while providing them accountability with a consequence, but letting them stay at their base school. And because of the Marion County Hospital District, we began the supportive enforcement program. And I know the great video that Justice showed highlighted that, but that's something that is changing lives, because these students that have made a mistake are able to stay at their base school and receive this core instruction group class through Ms. Dixon, Christy Dixon, and that's a game changer. And so we could not be more appreciative of that program and everything else that they said. That I could highlight each one of them, but the video did a great job. But I just want to personally thank all of you for your commitment. because this program truly has a huge impact on our students, and we're very appreciative, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're in good hands with Melissa Conlon, but I will never be too far away.
We appreciate you guys so much. At this time, are there any questions? Oh, thank you so much.
Great job.
Project update?
So we had a request that we evaluated from Marion Senior Services, and they have a very robust program through their Senior Crisis Mobile Response Team. And it's a combination of Marion Senior Services and fire rescue going out and responding to seniors experiencing either behavioral, emotional, or some medical crisis. And one of the things that is very beneficial that we've been trying to support and beef up is the fall risk mitigation. Since this,
Page 10 is on page 10. Let me look at some.
since this fits under our unintentional injuries area, one of our newest of our health pillars, one of the ways that we can really fast track working on fall mitigation is partnering with senior services, and their greatest need right now for their mobile response team is a vehicle. And so we asked them to price out and several options, and we evaluated that, and they asked us for, and we're recommending that the board approve $50,000 so they can get a vehicle that is reliable for their mobile response team. And what we would get in return is the data and the additional services that they could provide for seniors. And hopefully that will give us a lot more data for our fall risk mitigation. And going into next year, we could also beef up the unintentional injury category by assisting them with this $50,000.
The 50,000, is that a safe number, or is it more, or the number you guys negotiated, and that will take care of the rest?
They originally said between 50 and 60,000.
But you feel 50 will work?
Deborah, you were closer to
So
contact.
they have done two pricings for us, one with new cars, which is way more than the 60,000 mark, and then certified used cars. They can get a vehicle anywhere between, a certified used vehicle, anywhere between 41,000 and I believe close to 60,000.
Okay, so, I guess, just a simple question, do you want us to put 50,000 there, or should we give them a little range for room? Because if they can get a better vehicle for 53,000, I hate to think that we made a cut off at 50, or do they have an ability to throw money that they have to get?
I don't think they have any funds available to throw in, so.
So I would rather approve something with a little bit of cushion.
So
That's just my opinion.
I mean, is there specific criteria for the vehicle that they need? Because they're also transporting these
They
individuals?
need something, either a van or an SUV, because all the fall mitigation, all the supplies and stuff that they have to bring to these crisis calls, they need to have the ability to transport as well as.
And it doesn't need a special retrofit.
Does it need anything for a wheelchair or electric wheelchair or anything of that nature?
Yeah, they have their own transport.
They're not hauling people, they're just hauling stuff, right?
Correct.
They have their buses for the transportation of the seniors.
I just think we should do a range. I mean, I just don't think we should say 50,000. I think it should be 45 to 55 or 50 to 60.
So they
Whatever
price
you guys want,
out
but something.
vehicles, right? And you said the range is between 40 and 60?
Yes.
So how would we do it?
Can we say
How
something?
would we do not to exceed 60? And then we don't have
It's a motion.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion to make the dollar amount 60,000. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, what questions do we have?
What type of data are they gonna be giving us?
Number of the seniors that are served, what type of crisis calls they're addressing, and any interventions or assistance that they've provided. And Crystal, I don't know if you want to speak anything further. I know that it'll be accessible and non-shared.
Correct.
Including like fall risk assessment of the home, like roads,
Yes.
grab bars, things of that nature?
Any type of assessment that they do when they go to the home and what the visit was for, we're asking them for, to give us that information.
As long as we get that information there.
Matt?
We have, excuse me, you have, with prior to this, you have, 737,000 in trustee undesignated funds.
Is that adding up to the 18 we just?
Well, I was gonna say that, I was saving that for the finance portion, but I do believe since it was a budget amendment, it would need to be amended again to remove. So if we add that back, then we would have more than that, we would have, 755,000.
Okay, so we obviously have plenty of money. Other questions? All right, we have a first and we have a second for $60,000. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
For the quarterly updates, they are in your packet about Beacon Point and projects.
Shady. It was on the All right, thank you, Dr. Harold. Are you going to be doing operations?
Yeah, there's just one topic
Okay.
on there. So under operations, we just have one item. It's a modification to the bylaws. Some of the trustees have asked staff to put together something similar to what we had several years ago that creates term limits for board officers. Currently, there are no term limits. And so this proposed amendment creates a 3-year term limit for each board officer role. So let's say if you're chairman, vice chairman, or secretary treasurer, which is one position, this would limit the term to any one of these 3 years. And then you would have to take a year hiatus from that exact officer role before you can be nominated and be selected as an officer in that same role.
Move approval.
We have a motion to approve. We need a second.
Second.
Any questions?
Question.
Okay.
Is this so that you don't have to be president again?
Uh-huh.
See, you should have asked the question first, man.
I got eyes on that seat.
And just for what it's worth, the bylaws say we gotta have 5 trustees voting in favor to amend the bylaws, if we do have 5 trustees here, but.
Okay.
All 5 vote.
Because I do have a powerful vote.
You do.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, so any other questions? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me. Okay.
We have nothing from legal.
Okay.
Nothing from admin on the.
No, they, I asked him, I reached out to him actually last week and had crickets back. They gave us 90 days, so. Talk to me the full 90 days.
90 days,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's-
Okay. All right, we have the investment guys on the phone.
Great to see you.
Oh, yeah, it's the one that's been harassing me the entire time. Okay. All right.
And while we're getting them on, I'll just go ahead and move to the next reminder of September 29th is the investment workshop.
Hello, good afternoon. Can everyone hear us?
Yes.
All right.
You're on.
So, we're on. Just waiting for that little nudge. So today, I think we've really only got 2 presentations. We'll try and be fairly brief. and then we'll just provide a quick wrap up with where we are on all of the strategic items we've been working on. So the two items we have are July's performance report as well as the Q2 dashboard. You may remember last month we presented on the quantitative dashboard, that was their performance as of the end of June. We've now finished our qualitative questionnaire, so it's more of a forward-looking scores and scoring on the strengths of each manager, and we'll just highlight some of the changes in scoring that took place over the quarter. So, with that being said, let me share my screen. I hope everyone can see this, but if not, please shout, or if you need me to make it any bigger. Really, if I was to characterize market performance in July, it was steady. US equities rose by a couple of percentage points, as did emerging market equities. Developed market equities fell, but that was predominantly just because the US dollar actually strengthened over the month, so it was more converted returns rather than any underlying weakness in the markets. We did see bond prices largely flat, sort of ditto for real assets. So it was a month where the majority of the portfolio eked out a small positive return, and that's actually shown in your numbers as well. So the portfolio rose by 0.58% against the benchmark of 0.56%. So it's there was essentially performance tracked or slightly outpaced the benchmark, and you'll see when we get into compliance charts that we're in aggregate now overweight US equities and underweight to diversified multiple alternatives. So not much, but just to kind of keep tabs on things. I'll skip over markets. As I said, it was fairly muted. You can see here on slide 4 of our presentation, I'm not sure what slide it is of the overall pack, that the allocation, the aggregate allocation to US equities is closer to 31% as of the end of July. So this is above the upper end of the rebalancing range of 30%. Really, this was predominantly due to Truist, who we know have been working. They're actually now 5% overweight their tolerance range. They have been working, I think, on the paperwork and with legal counsel to approve some more alternative investments, but they haven't been put to place yet, hence why they continue to be overweight. And also hence why they have been the strongest performer in the last few months, just because of that overweight position. If I skip to slide 9, you can see here on the top left-hand side of this chart the fund versus benchmark performance. So essentially we tracked the benchmark, and it really was in aggregate, both the Truist but also the Crescent and Greystone being overweight US equities, which rose by the most. That was the biggest contributor to performance over the month. Where we are seeing ongoing, call it underperformance, is actually some of the active management, particularly within US and non-US equities. And let's see, I think there was one more slide I was just going to touch on, which was just the total aggregate performance slide. Sorry, 13 I should have said. And really the picture when we look back beyond just a few months or the last year is, generally speaking, and again, as a reminder to everyone, this since inception number is since October 1, 2022, so it's not even 3 years yet, close to 3 years, but not yet. But over this period, we've seen strong absolute performance. This 11% return is ahead of the strategic objective, but clearly we continue to fall behind the policy or the benchmark return. That's been raised at the number of meetings now. That's been the really biggest area of focus on all of the strategic items we've been running, and we shared some information on the recent one-on-one training with the trustees, so I'm not going to belabor the point now. Let me just pause there and see if there's any questions on the performance of the portfolio before I move on to the questionnaire. Okay, hearing none. So on the second document, this is very marginally updated from the one that was included in the board pack. We've just got some information late on Friday and this morning that we wanted to include. And so this represents call it the live scoring of each of the managers.
That's your handouts.
Yeah.
If you want. Or is it in?
It should be in the pack, but there was a few outstanding questions that we had for Greystone and Truist, and we got some answers from Greystone, so we updated their scores. There's still a couple of pieces of information we're waiting for from Truist, but by and large, you can think of these as finalized scores as of June 30. And so, to summarize, just looking at the bottom row here, and this is what you should expect, right? Unless something drastic changes on a quarter-by-quarter basis, these scores are quite, call it in a steady state. So we cut Truist's score by -0.03. Crescent was essentially the same, just that we added to their score. Greystone, we did have a bit more of a meaningful change, but still within 0.1, 0.2 out of 10. So there's nothing that's significantly changed. In terms of, why did the score, for example, for Truist on manager research drop over the quarter? Well, there were some three departures from the traditional manager team, and so that impacted the number of CFA charter holders. There's also been a reduction in the success of active management, and that's one of the questions with the highest weight or importance attached to it for Truist. So that led to a bit of a decline. For Crescent and Greystone, in kind of contrast, and I think this is actually one of the benefits of intra-quarter between Q1 and Q2, we actually spoke with each of the managers and talked them through their scorecard, gave them full transparency. And I think we have collectively benefited from that. I think there's a greater understanding from each of the OCIO managers on what it is that we are looking for, and therefore there's more transparency and more granular information they're now providing to us, which has been positive, and which in the case of Crescent and Greystone has actually led to some increased scores because they provided a bit more transparency and information to us. It's not that Truist hasn't, there's actually one piece of information on value for money we're waiting for them to come back to us on. So that's probably the one area of this scorecard that could change. And again, I'll pause there. This is a question now with about 50 questions, so I could probably talk for about 30 minutes without breathing now if I was going through every single underlying line item, but I know for a fact the trustees do not want me to do that, so I'm going to stop talking and see if there's any questions on any of our changes in score.
When is Truist supposed to get us back that information?
I would say this week. That this was a case where, you may remember on the value for money questions, really what we're looking for is a benefit for NCHD investing through Truist and their fee aggregations than where we tend to invest directly. And we wanted line by line kind of discounts provided so we could kind of independently corroborate what they're telling us. So I'm hoping this week.
Other questions? Ken, nothing?
I've been scolded. He's on Europe time.
Okay, I got you. All right. No other questions for Nathan or Jaden? All right. Thank you very much. What else?
No, I was just going to say that the final thing was to thank all of the trustees. I think we've met pretty much everyone for this one-on-one training on where is it that we're taking all of this analysis that we're doing. I know we have September 29th booked in for this investments workshop, and so both the dashboard, both the second annual fee review that we're currently working on, and all of Wilshire's thoughts and recommendations around the framework of this investment program will be provided there. So thank you for your patience, thank you for your support, thank you for the feedback that we've had from those sessions, and if you've got any questions from now to then, please don't hesitate to reach out.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Included in your packet, beginning on page 58 is the financial statements as of July 2025, as well as the month and year to date for the organization. As mentioned just recently here, there was investment increases during the period, so there was holding gains as well as the normal interest and dividends, which puts the organization in a pretty good position for the balance sheet. And as far as your operating expenditures as compared to budget, we are in line with all budgets and not likely to go over any particular line item.
And we've got our regions, our money from them.
Yeah, I have like 5 bullet points of non-things on here. So any questions on the financial statements? Otherwise, we are seeking approval.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the financials. We have a motion.
Have a second?
We have a second. Any questions for Matt? Okay, hearing no questions, all in favor? Motion passes.
Okay, so the agenda until everyone now, I'm going to the items that are not listed here. The fans budget for approval is included in the packet. The school year starts before our fiscal year, and they need their assurances that this budget will be in place. So included in the packet was the budget for just the fans, and we're seeking approval for that fans budget for the 25-26 fiscal year of our organization as well as the school year. And this would obviously, if passed tonight, would be only amended in future meetings, and it would be part of a set part of the budget.
This is typical for us to do since it needs to mirror the school schedule.
So one question on that. When Jessica was talking about we're funding those 4 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just curiosity, but like raises and promotions, do they put that into our budget in advance or kind of just?
So we work with the school system several months ahead of now to kind of look at what is needed for the next fiscal year. The only thing that we really send over to the school system is salaries.
Well, we just give it to them and then they pay.
They
right?
pay
So
them.
technically, we just fund it, we're not our employees.
Correct.
Okay.
And do we have to fund 100% of those positions?
We fund 100% of
The
those
4
4
people,
positions. There is another position that the school system last year added to it, and they fund that position 100%. That was the first time that they had almost scanned it in.
Yeah, so if you look at the budget worksheet, that's up on the screen now, you see the budget for 25. There's been slight reallocations within the budget, but otherwise it's pretty much the same dollar value, within a few $1,000 of what we budgeted for this current fiscal year. There's no significant changes or items worthy of me making sure you were aware prior to your further discussion and approval.
And note that we've added more schools, so on kept the same budget.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so
You can do that,
so salaries, taxes, FRS, health insurance, that was pretty
That's
self-explanatory.
us, that's our side.
Yeah.
The Marion County Schools line, third from the bottom,
Thank you.
is the portion that we fund to the schools for them to pay their wages.
Okay, so that's the 4 people. And then the top one is the salaries that we have allocated to things.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Other questions?
Do you need a motion?
We have to do that one separately?
Did I not ask for a motion? Oh, I'm sorry, I did not ask for a motion. No, yes, I need a motion.
Motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any other questions? All right, all in favor? Okay.
The packet was a small paragraph narrative describing the asset value that will be used in the budget workshop and in the final budget that will be voted upon, both occurring next month. The initial budget commitment report provided the trustees listed a tentative asset value of 282, you can see there in the first sentence, 282 million. It's since been updated by Wilshire to include all the parameters as approved by the board according to the process here, and it increased to 286 million. So that's just a point of clarification. just so the trustees are aware too, that is just the starting value for the assets. We do back out prior commitments that have been carried forward for years, such as College Central Florida. We pull that out of the asset value to then arrive at what a 4% spend would be to come up with the funding for the fiscal year budget.
Is it really a rolling 12-quarter average? I know it's 12 months, it's not.
12 quarters.
Okay.
That was approved by the trustees, gosh, a
Yeah.
year ago.
Yeah, I believe it was about a year ago.
Because it used to only be for like a entire
One day in
fiscal year.
Yeah, yeah, I thought,
So
I just
we
thought,
did a roll.
I thought it was 12 months.
Yeah, and
So if we're
current
all
asset
right,
val-
this will be better.
Yeah, I think as the next few quarters roll on, this will improve. I mean, the current asset holdings are over 300 million, so you can see the discount taking into impact of just the bad market that we had probably 2 years ago still. But anyway, this 4% calculation, as we discussed later, will fund the current commitments.
Certainly more conservative.
Yes.
Yes.
Move approval.
If
Do
you
we
need
need to have that?
This one doesn't need to be
that's
approved,
not
it's just a
approval?
discussion point. This is an update, so it's a primer for next month.
Okay, so since Ken, let's talk about that 18 that we need
Yeah.
to put back in the budget.
Exactly. I think that's true. I think once the budget's been amended, it's now a part of the budget. And the only way to reallocate it back to undesignated would be as a budget amendment to remove the prior amendment. I don't know if that's proper terminology, but I think that's the proper procedure. So we would need a motion, second discussion, and a vote to take the $18,000 away.
Back into discretionary funds.
Exactly.
Trying to move approval on that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
No, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other questions about that for clarification? Okay, all in favor? Motion passes. Right.
And then I got a couple more little agenda items here. As Deborah mentioned, last meeting, the board voted to approve the liquidation of the region's account that was held initially to fund the MRHS, Monroe Regional Health System pension plan that has since been wound down and obligation transferred, and subsequently audited by the official group that would audit those pension plan transfers. And we believe we're at a point where there's no further obligations related, and there's about $90,000, $92,000 sitting in that account. Trustees moved to have that liquidated and put into our operations, so that occurred over the last month. Just as an update to the trustees, that's now part of our operating cash flow, just offsetting future funding requests from the investment balance. We received in the last week the Heart of Florida Low Income Pool agreement from the state. That is, this is a reminder or an education to some of the newer trustees. The state has a low income pool fund or program in which a governmental entity can sponsor another organization. Essentially, thereby sending money up to the state level. So the hospital district partners with Heart of Florida on this. We send money to the state. State pools that and sends more money than what was initially funded by the hospital district to the recipient. So that fund transfer, the payment doesn't likely occur until like January or February. It's invoiced, but there's an agreement in place before, and that's what was recently received, was the agreement to the commitment of that low-income pool fund and funding, which was $187,000, which is a significant reduction over prior years. So that will be included in the budget that we discuss next week and then is approved later in the month. But we do seek the board's approval to have Kurt and or Deborah approve the contract as it is at $187,000 commitment, which would unlock that piece of the budget as well.
So we send the 187, or they send it back 187?
We send 187. I think the idea was that it comes like 275 comes back or something like that.
Yeah, there's no guarantee. Usually, it goes around, it's been usually a 40-60 where we put in 40% and then the state will give us back 60. Occasionally, when other counties cannot give the full low-income pool amount, they can't seek funding, sometimes we get more. And then other times, and that's why there's no guarantee on it, and then other times it's almost a 50-50 where, we'll get equal amount back from the feds as a block grant to the state. But it's basically to pay for uncompensated care for Heart of Florida's primary care services.
Historically, it's been a way to leverage additional dollars into our community. But it requires intergovernmental transfer, so the hospital district, being a governmental entity, it partners with the Heart of Florida for this. They couldn't send their own money up to come more, it's gotta come from governmental entity sponsors.
So we need a motion? No.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, got it. All right.
It's not being approved tonight?
It's not on the agenda. Can you approve something?
Can we lock it up?
Well, we just walked on the 18.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's do that. So you want to restate what we need a motion for?
Seeking a motion to approve the contract between hospital district and state for the low-income pool funding for Heart of Florida at $187,000 for Kurt to be able to sign the agreement.
Everyone, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. Any questions? All right, all in favor?
I do have one question. You talked about the liquidation of the pension fund, kind of all in the same breath, but there's still a net pension liability of about $1.48 million on the balance sheet. Now, what is that?
That is the current pension program that our governmental entity. Okay, so back in the history, Monroe Regional Health System was a not-for-profit organization that was like a subsidiary, that's not a proper term here, but of the hospital district. And it had its own pension plan that has since been wound up and closed off, as we no longer have a Monroe Regional Health System and employees. All of the people that were employees that maintained employment transferred to the hospital district, which is a governmental entity, and thereby has the requirement for their employees to be eligible for Florida retirement, FRS. So the current pension program we operate is for the current employees of the organization that's funded through the state, whereas the prior pension plan was specific to just MRHS and their employees. So it's a separate pension plan, a legacy pension plan. They use that term quite a bit.
So that one's going to be on there forever.
As long as we have employees and obligations thereon, yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything else, Matt? All right, let's move into old business. Do we have any old business that we need to cover? All right, what about any open discussion items? Anybody want to bring anything up? All right, well, thank y'all. We are adjourned.